So we have been working with fractions. We have been working with fractions. We have been working with fractions. And if I asked you x over 7 plus x over 3 equals 10. If I asked you to do this problem, it's adding fractions. What do you know about adding fractions? What do you know about adding fractions? You have to have a common denominator, right? In order to add fractions, you have to have a common denominator. So what would that common denominator be? Which, by the way, wait. Now, what would the common denominator be if I have a 7 and a 3 and a 1? What would you use for your common denominator, Alex? He says 21. Do you agree? Yes. So then you'd have to go over here and figure out, what did I multiply by, what did I multiply, then I have to multiply on the top and put those back. That just seems like a lot of work. Well, what if I told you there was a way to do it? What if I told you there was a way to do it without using fractions? Get rid of the fractions. Would I be your best friend then? No? Well, I'll still show you how to get rid of the fractions. And what did you say, Alex? The common denominator would be what? 21. So here's what I'm going to do to get rid of the fractions. Whatever the common denominator would have been, we're going to take that value and on both sides of the equation, we're going to multiply by 21 over 1. We're going to multiply by 21 over 1. Because remember, when you're solving an equation, you can do whatever you want to an equation, right? If I have like 2x plus 7 equals 10, I can minus 7 from both sides. As long as I do it to both sides. I can divide by 2 as long as I do it to both sides. You can do whatever you want with equations as long as you do it to both sides. So we're going to multiply both sides by 21 over 1. Top times top, what do you get here? Bottom times bottom. Plus top times top here. Bottom times bottom. 1 times 3 is 3. Equals top times top here, 210. And bottom times bottom. Now, when you look at it at this point, you think, oh, you just made a mess of it. But look what happens. If you reduce, what is 21 over 7? Everyone? What's 21 over 7? That was everyone? I heard a 3. And what's 21 over 3? 7. And would you look at that? Now we have an equation with no fractions. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather do an equation like this with no fractions than that thing up there. Now all you have to do is combine like terms, and they're even on the same side. What is 3x plus 7x? 10x. What do you have to do to finish her up? So what do we get? X equals 21. Isn't that easy? Get rid of the fractions. Get rid of them. We hate them anyway. Right? Get rid of them. Multiply both sides by whatever the common denominator would have been. Do I have it right? Well, first thing I'm going to do is 1 and a 1. What would the common denominator be? Sam, what would the common denominator be? 12, right? Everybody agrees? So what are we going to do? On both sides, we're going to multiply by 12 over 1. By 12 over 1. Whatever the common denominator would have been, that's what we're going to multiply by. So what do you get here? 12 times 2x, 24x over, that's easy, 1 times 1. 12 times x, 12x. 1 times 3, 12 times x. And on bottom, 4 times 1. 12 times 5, I think that's 60. Like that. And again, it doesn't look very simple, but if you go back and reduce, well, this one you can't really reduce. It's just 24x. What's 12 over 3? 4? 4x. What's 12 over 4? Right, 3x. Now what? Well, right here on this side I have some like terms. Can we put those together? I think that's 28x. Now what? Well, we have to get all the x's together, don't we? Here's what I would do. Minus 3x, so we can get all the x's together. So I have 25x equals, that goes away, 60. What's the last step? Right, good, yes, you've got to divide by 25. So I get x equals 60 over 25. Can I reduce? One ends in a 0, the other ends in a 5. I know I can at least divide by 5. 12 over 5. 12 over 5. If you want to write it as a decimal, you can, but it doesn't really matter to me. Could just leave it like that. Could just leave it. Make sense? Anybody with questions so far? I'm only going to do one more, I promise. One more. Anybody with questions so far? I'm going to do one like this before I set you free. It's a subtract. And then can I put a 1 under there right away? So here's the thing. Do you notice there was one term, one term, one term? There was one term, one term, one term, one term. There's one term, two terms. There's two there. The first thing I would do, parentheses, right away. And then you just go ahead and figure out what's your common denominator going to be. I have a 1 and a 5 and a 3. Common denominator? What would that be, Marlo? Q? Should I call you MQ? MQ. 15, he says. So on both sides, I'm going to multiply by 15 over 1, just like before. So top times top, 15 times x, that's not bad. Bottom times bottom, 3 times 1 is 3. Minus top times top. And if I were you, I would just leave it like this. Don't actually multiply it out. Leave it as 15 times x plus 2. And bottom times bottom is 5. And then on this side, 2 times 15 is 30. And 1 times 1 is 1. Next step is to go back and reduce. So I've got 15 over 3, 5x, take away. Now, you're just going to reduce this part right there. What's 15 over 5? I think it's 3 times x plus 2 equals 30. Now, I would do it in this order. Don't multiply it out until you've reduced this. Especially with the minus problems, you're going to make a mistake in there if you try to multiply it out and then reduce it. So reduce it first and then multiply it out. Less chance of making a mistake. And how do I know that? How do I know that? How do I know there's less chance of making a mistake? How do I know that? How do I know that? How do you think I know that? How do you think I know that? MQ, how do you think I know that? Because I know that because I've been doing this for a long, long time. And the people that multiply it out first, they make mistakes, most of them. So don't multiply it out. Reduce it first. Now we can multiply it out. What's negative 3 times x? Everybody will get that one right. Here's where you'll mess up. What's negative 3 times 2? It's negative 6. If you multiply it out and then reduce, that's where you're going to make your mistake right there. Now what? Well, now you just finish it up like usual. Combine the x's. What do you get there? 5x, take away 3x. I believe that's 2x. Minus 6 is 30. And then what? Well, we've got all the x's together right here. We need to get rid of what's with it. Add 6, and I get 2x equals 36. 2x equals 36. What's my last step? Right, yes, divide by 2, divide by 2. And so I get x is 18. Make sense? Do you have questions? Should I do some more examples, or do you think you have it? I think you have it. Can you just go like this if you think you have it? And like this if you don't? I think we have it. Okay, because I would do more examples, but I think you have it. So, what do we have? Did I ask if there's questions? Are there any questions? Does anyone have a question? So, what do I have? Page 299. Yes, that would be page 299. I've got page 299. I've got 5 through 10. That's it. Oh, there. Can you feel the love? 5 through 10. 5 through 10. That'll take you 2 minutes probably.